It made no sense for Putin to kill Navalny, given the timing, given what was going on. It is such an intellectually weak analysis to come to the conclusion that Putin killed Navalny. Navalny had a lot of enemies in Russia. Did you know that, Dr. Cornel West? Did you know that, Brianna Joy Gray? When you guys repeated this bullshit uncritically? Do you guys know how many people wanted this guy dead because he's a Nazi who betrayed his country to the CIA? I'm not even saying that Putin didn't prefer him dead. But the idea that Putin has a blood clot gun, a blood clot ray of some kind, and got this man killed at the worst possible timing is absurd to say. So here's the information that you get on this show that you're not getting from Cornball West. This is what you're not getting from people who have doctorate degrees. This is not the information you're getting from people who have master's degrees. This is not information you're getting from people who graduate from the Ivy League. This is information you get on proletariat networks. You know, the quote-unquote independent media that Dr. Cornel West smears? HUR chief Budanov, hopefully I'm saying that correct, confirms Navalny died of detached blood clot. So, Zoya, you are our Russia analysis expert. Well, what they call him on CNN? Our Russia analysis specialist, expert. Yeah, our Russia expert. You guys know we got Zoya's Love, Zoya's Life. Do they got a blood clot gun of some kind, Zoya, in Russia that I didn't know about?
Well, you know, in America, we blame Russia for everything. You know, if you got a flat tire, you're gaining weight, your boyfriend doesn't love you, blame Putin. So, hello, RBN fam.
Zoya's Love, Zoya's Life is here.
I mean, obviously he died of natural causes, but you know, if you only listen to CNN, like a former Dr. Cornel, Dr. Nick,
he hates independent media. He trusts corporate media, Zoya. Big fan.
He acts uncritically. He criticized Russia, China, and Iran. This is
the same countries they want us to hate. But sorry, go ahead, Zoya.
It's just establishment talking points, and I don't know how you can present yourself in opposition to empire while parroting everything that empire supports. He's still repeating the propaganda that we've heard for years, vilifying these countries. Of course, no country is perfect. There are no utopias.
Exactly.
We can criticize China, we can criticize Russia, we can criticize Iran, anywhere, but we have to do it factually. But US makes cartoon villains out of these countries and tries to make you forget that there are real people living there, that when you say, yeah, let's take down Putin, you're actually attacking hundreds of millions of people with 160 ethnicities. It is their lives that you're going to damage with sanctions. Russia's right now one of the most sanctioned countries in the world. And who do you think that impacts? These are the points that people need to put together. But to bring it back to Navalny, yes, first of all, the man was a Nazi. I understand Cornel West, you know, let's pray for everyone approach. Fine, pray for them. Don't put them in the same image as Mumia and Freedom.
Yeah, he lies about them. Because you notice at no point during the conversation, I'll pass it right back to you, Zoya. You notice at no point during the conversation that Bree and Dr. Cornel West had, that Bree or Cornel West brought up the fact that Navalny was caught on tape soliciting $10 to $20 million in order to start a color revolution from the MI6. Why didn't they never bring that up? So it's not like Dr. Cornel West is telling the truth and he has a different take. He's lying about him. Brianna Joy Gray didn't bring up the fact that he called. It wasn't like I'll just pray for him. No, you called him courageous. Like, why are they lying? But sorry, Zoe, go ahead.
Well, Cornell's premise that the Nazi who compared Muslims to cockroaches as being courageous relies on the fact that on the lie, on the fantasy that Putin is this dictator that just murders everybody, and that he's somehow uniquely evil. He won't, yeah, I mean, because he'll use terminology towards Putin that he will not use towards Biden, even though Biden is responsible.
He don't even call us brother no more. He's like, man, I call anyone brother, but he's on his show with Bree. I was Nick and CJ. It wasn't no brother Nick anymore, but it's brother Navalny. But go ahead, Zoya.
Well, Nick, maybe if you become a Nazi, you can get back into Cornell's good graces. I mean, I don't know.
If I tell you to vote Democrat, maybe that would do it.
Yes, vote blue no matter who. So Cornell, like a lot of academics, has these blind spots, because I know a lot of people who I could say are not specifically malicious, but because of the titles they have earned in academia, first of all, they have a God complex, because this superiority is instilled in you, that somehow you're smarter and more informed than other people. And the history you're taught in these institutions is actually propaganda. And then you uncritically spread that propaganda and act righteous. The self-righteousness, it's a really big characteristic of the liberal, to act self-righteous. Because that's what Cornell's doing. He's acting like Putin is or any of these leaders. Let's hear what he has to say about North Korea or any of them, where they are these terrible dictators. And I'm sorry, but how can he not realize how incredibly dangerous it is to use this kind of rhetoric after we saw what happened in Libya, after we saw what happened in Iraq? You can criticize these leaders, but you cannot deny objective reality that these countries were better off with them in charge than after U.S. invasion. And what Cornell is doing is helping manufacture consent for U.S. interventions that kill millions and mostly impact civilians.
This fucking scumbag said that people who criticize him are authoritarian and fascist. That is what he said with a straight face, with no pushback from Bree. I was like, what? He like, this is a natural authoritarian and fascist tendency to criticize who I pray for. Your faith is not above criticism. And you want to know what's really authoritarian? You want to know what's really fascist? Living in the most violent empire, being a made man like you are, taking paychecks from a Zionist institution known as Harvard, paying taxes in the most violent, bloody empire we have seen in modern history. But you spend your time demonizing leaders that are supported by the popular will of their country. Putin, no matter how you feel about him, is supported by around 80% of the Russian population. The Chinese Communist Party is massively popular. They got around a 75% approval rating. So you, as an outsider, as an enemy state, you gonna chime in and demonize these leaders and governments and override the will of their people, and you're gonna call other people authoritarian? I'm not a cultural imperialist. I believe we should lead by example. So you clean up your house first. After we clean up our house, you lead by example. And then you have other countries follow you by you leading by example. You don't, as you live in a fucking dog shit country with no health care, you think you have the right to criticize Russia, who provides health care to their people, by the way? You know the policy that you've been fighting for your entire life, Dr. West? That's what they have in Russia. You know, paid maternity leave? They get at least 180 days. Paid maternity leave. You know them social democrat policies that you care so much about, Dr. Cornel West? Putin has a 70% approval rating at least because he provides that to his people. But you, a doctorate, a fake doctor that we confiscated, you can't even explain that to the people that you quote unquote educate. And you are or authoritarian. Go ahead, Zoya.
And to add on, the journalist, I believe his name is Johnny Miller. I apologize if I got that wrong. He's a foreigner in Russia right now, and he had a health episode. He actually slipped on the ice and hurt himself, and he ended up being hospitalized. His surgery, his entire hospital stay, everything as a foreigner cost him a couple $100 in that authoritarian, horrific, awful country. Do you know that people fly from here to Russia, to Mexico, to other foreign countries to get healthcare? These countries that Cornel West wants to criticize? And let's do a little thought experiment. Let's say I say America has discovered of a man named Navalny conspiring with Russians, telling Russian FSB agents that he will take millions of dollars to sow division in America and start a civil revolution. What would America do at that point? Would America not imprison him? Do we not have examples of how America treats even journalists? Do you think for a second America would not prosecute a person that is taking millions from foreigners to start civil unrest domestically? We have to apply the same standards across the board, Mr. West.
Well said. You guys see how our community hold me accountable. The egotistical Dr. Cornel West can't be held accountable by anyone. Who the fuck you think you are? You guys already see the Communist Party of China, Nick. CCP is a term used in the West, Nick. Yeah, I know. I'm being ironic. I need to stop doing that, because I do that to mock, because that's how every single person across United States media, in order to get people to fear China, they say the Chinese Communist Party. So yeah, guys, you guys are 100% right. This is why I love my community. You guys see how my community are trying to set me straight. But what I was doing is I was being ironic. Like that's I guess like to me, even saying that as a demonization of China is weird. The Chinese Communist Party, like, why does that even work? That's why to me it's funny. That's why I it's like a bad habit where I always start saying it as a way to mock the idea that would even be scary. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's move on. Always appreciate the comments from you guys. I'll read this one because I just saw it come in. That's right. Anyone who says CCP is generally expose themselves, but we know where you're at. That's every single person on corporate media says it. So I get you guys for posting comments, but I usually saying it ironically, just to mock the Americans who have Chinese derangement syndrome. But great points, guys. You guys see, this is why the media, being helped by Dr. Cornel West, is pushing Alexei Navalny as his cult hero status. And Dr. Cornel West is doing his job and performing his role, because his role is to help the professional managerial class, the neocons, the military-industrial complex, to paint Alexei Navalny as his hero so they can justify escalating this war because of Navalny's death. And now they have a new hero, his wife, who they are now grooming to also be a traitor to Russia and her country. And now I'm gonna play just a little bit of her speech here. So I'm not saying the West killed Navalny or was responsible for it, but it definitely benefits them. The idea that PMCs like Brown Joy Gray and Dr. Cornel West can't make this analysis astounds me. So after the Tucker Carlson interview, as Russia is destroying Ukraine, as Republicans are blocking Ukraine aid, and as the EU is debating this with Turkey and other states that are starting to question the Ukraine war, as Putin is in a great position in terms of geopolitics, that's when he decides to kill Navalny? Apparently, Putin is a fucking sorcerer who with magic blood clot guns, who can control the weather, who can kill anyone with pinpoint precision, but he waits until now to do it? Why wouldn't he do it earlier? Why he wouldn't wait till later? It makes no sense. It was the worst possible timing. And then as he kills Navalny, his wife just so happens to be in Germany giving a speech. Zoe, what was the conference? It escapes me. But there was
I forget too, but she was in the EU just by accident with speech notes in her hands, ready to go on live the moment her husband dies.
Do people think that's a coincidence? I gotta look it up. I gotta look up exactly. Does anyone in the chat? Can anyone in the chat help me? I forgot the name of the conference, but it was a big like EU NATO conference that she
And
was attending in
And
Germany.
let's put it into context even more. Putin just did this interview with Tucker Carlson that definitely was shifting American perception, at least in some minimal way. He invested all that effort. And as the momentum is moving towards him, Putin's sitting around and thinking like, how can I fuck this up? How can I piss the West off? Let me
The
kill this
Munich
guy who's
Security
already in
Conference.
jail.
Sorry, Zoya. It was the Munich Security Conference. So here, I had to look it up. So I don't know why I blanked on it, but you guys see Alexei Navalny's. God damn it! You guys see, I'll try to block all these damn ads. Let me refresh this. Alexei Navalny's widow addresses Munich Security Conference. So as they have this Munich Security Conference, that's when Putin decides to kill Navalny. Why? Because apparently he's just a fucking crazy psychopath like that who doesn't think about stuff. It makes no sense. And this is what Breonna Joy Gray and Dr. Cornel West, Bree, God bless her heart. I don't dislike her. But that just showed the PMC weakness. Like how do you fall for this, Bree? You work for the ill. You got sources that I don't. You got the intelligence that I don't have.
And it's irresponsible. It's irresponsible. If you're running for president, I mean, Bree is in her own category as an independent journalist, but if you're running for president, how are you going to repeat propaganda without doing a 5-minute Google search? This information is not difficult to find.
So I'm gonna show you guys. Let me go back to show you guys the kind of op these people are. This is the family that Dr. Cornel West is praying for. So Yulia, am I saying that correctly? Navalnaya.
You are perfect.
And Alexei Navalny are like patriots or who courageous according to Dr. Cornel West and the PMC class. But they are advocating for sanctions. They are advocating for the CIA and the MI6 to overthrow the will of the Russian people. Once again, despite whatever you feel about Putin, Cornel West, he is supported by the vast majority of his people. But you back someone who want to use the MI6 and the CIA to overthrow the will of the people? And does it seem like she cares about Russian people? Because look at this headline here, and this is what she's going to say in this speech I'm going to show you. To defeat Putin, stop being boring. The fuck? She's over here calling for the West essentially to go to war with her own people. This is the family that Dr. Cornel West is praying for. She's a psychopath that wants the West to go to war with her own people. You guys know how crazy this is to praise this person? I'll let this play.
Alexei was tortured for 3 years. He was starved in a tiny stone cell, cut off from the outside world, and denied visits, phone calls, and then even letters. And then they killed him. Even after that, they abused his body and abused his mother. He was the opposite of everything boring. This is the answer to the question. If you really want to defeat Putin, you have to become an innovator. You have to stop being boring. Putin.
What does that mean, my friends? What does that mean, Zoya? Stop being boring? Waging a proxy war is boring? Having CIA in Ukraine helping them is boring? And I'm gonna cover Emmanuel Macron in Europe saying that they are open to sending troops to Ukraine. So this is this patriotic, courageous family that Dr. Cornel West is giving his praise to is calling for war against their own people. What the fuck, Zoya? Do you have any take before I let it continue?
I'm just wondering if she was rehearsing this speech with her lover, a billionaire who she's pictured with for 2 years intimately all over social media.
What? Tell me the scoop on that. What is that about?
I mean, you'd have to ask her, but you know, she obviously hasn't been anywhere near her husband in a long time, and from insider sources, and people are posting it with evidence, with pictures that are
I've seen a
definitely
little bit of it. That's why
yeah.
I was asking for details, because I've seen a little bit of it, but I didn't look into it yet.
I mean, obviously, she's been having this love affair for a while, and
Oh,
according to
shit.
people close to Navalny, she was the one to convince Navalny to go back to Russia, where
Oh,
he
Jesus
would be in
Christ.
danger. So, you know, we
Oh
can make
my
a whole movie out of this.
Bro, what? That is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I did not know that. You were telling me this for the first time, because you know how they always making this argument like he is so courageous for going back to Russia. And I even seen some people say, I don't know why you even do it. We try to talk him out of it. You tell me she's the reason, according to sources, I guess, right? But that's huge. She is definitely intelligence of some kind. But watch this. I will let continue, and then you can chime in afterwards. Because does this seem like someone who cares about Russian people? Remember, Dr. Cornel was like, my prayers go to his family. You praising fucking intelligent scum who's calling for war against their own people. This is why I am happy to say happy to say that RBN is the anti-PMC channel. I just, after being burnt by so many of these motherfuckers, after seeing their intellectual laziness over the course of my time doing this over 3 years, I'm done with them. I'm paving my own way. Zoya, we're paving our own way. The post-duopoly network, we're paving our own way. I'm cutting them out. These people who are so lazy that they can't get this issue that I can get right, and I have taken thousands of punches and strikes to my head. I am a college dropout. I am nothing special. I got into this just because I realized how horrible the PMC media class is. And they were getting basic shit wrong like this, including people who do good work like Brianna Joy Gray. Most of the time she does great work, but then she repeats uncritically CIA propaganda on critical issues. And I'm tired of it.
I'll give Brie credit here because I watched the full thing. She did later push back on Cornell by quoting Aaron Mate, and she said, "Well, I get that there's these bad faith attacks, but some of them actually are substantive." And then she quoted Aaron Mate, and she pushed Cornell on an answer. And Cornell just goes on tangents and, you know, these beautiful speeches that have nothing to do with the question being asked at all. And ultimately, he deflected and said that he was using Navalny's death to bring attention to Leonard Peltier and Mumia. That's what he was doing. That's how he wiggled out.
That's bullshit. Because what I was, once again, I didn't see the whole Patreon. That's a problem with pay locking your content. I guess she got to feed herself. I get it, but I'm not fucking paying for shit. You know what I mean? So what you put out free is what I see, and from what I see, they did not bring up the fact that Navalny was CIA and MI6 one time during the conversation.
Oh, that was never brought up. That was never brought up. And I did watch it for free, by the way. I'm sorry. I know I respect Nick's ethics here and how he tries to be considerate of everybody, even people he criticizes. But honestly, fuck anyone paywalling their content, especially on a presidential candidate that impacts all of us. Fuck that. Fuck the system. Get around it. It's on YouTube. Wink, wink. I'll post it in the chat. Nah, Brie can feed herself. That's fine. I support that. But if it's something of public interest, like a presidential candidate, you need to let everybody hear the whole thing.
Let's continue this video, and we can. And I have quite a few topics. We're gonna continue on the story of Russia because I'm gonna show you guys Emmanuel Macron putting his foot in it. And it shows how Europe is panicking because Emmanuel Macron has floated the idea of sending soldiers in Ukraine. And Europe freaked out because this is the first time we hear a world leader say this. But trust me, this has been a talking point that have been floating around corporate media and lower ranking politicians for quite some time. Macron was just the dumbest person to say it out loud, and it caused this massive freak out, which we're going to have a fun time covering. So let's watch this psychopath essentially advocate for war against their own people. These are the people who Dr. Cornel West respect, not RBN. But let's finish this.
And then they killed him. Even after that, they abused his body and abused his mother. He was the opposite of everything boring. This is the answer to the question. If you really want to defeat Putin, you have to become an innovator. You have to stop being boring. Putin must answer for what he has done with my country. Putin must.
So she calling for a regime change? What fucking patriot called for regime change using the intelligence agencies and using the media apparatuses of their hostile enemy who wants them dead, who wants them sanctioned to death? Like, did Dr. Cornel West even look her up? Remember, this is the person that we praying for the family. Her family his family, including his wife, is traitors. Anyway, sorry, let me finish it.
Have to stop being boring. Putin must answer for what he has done with my country. Putin must answer for what he has done to a neighboring peaceful country. And Putin must answer for everything he has done to Alexei. My husband will never see what the beautiful Russia of the future will look like. But we must see it. And I will do.
Yay, Nazis! Yay!
And I will do my best to make his dream come true. The evil will fall and the beautiful future will come. Thank you.
William is almost crying, bro. This psyop is so insane, bro. Dr. Cornel West was touched by this shit. Well, anything you want to add, Zoya?
I mean, you know, what did Putin say during the Tucker Carlson interview? He said, when you're trying to figure out who's responsible for what action, the first question to ask is, who benefits? Who benefits from Navalny's death? Does Putin benefit from Navalny's death? No. Does the West benefit from Navalny's death? Yes, that's how they're approving more weapons, more war, and saber rattling and fear mongering and saying, oh, human rights violations, just don't mention Assange. But Russia is committing human rights violations against journalists and oppositions. Just don't mention Julian. Don't mention Snowden. Don't mention Daniel Hale. Don't mention any of the other people that we throw into jail for simply telling the truth about our crimes. But Putin has no right to jail someone that is actively caught taking foreign money to sow dissent.